Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Parivachakacaya Shuddharashata Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Nirvana Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Seko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Yamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Gantharat Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, who understands no German? 1, 2. Wer versteht kein Englisch? 1. Okay. We're speaking in English. Und beziehungsweise, if I speak in German, who can translate into English? Yes. Okay, we will speak in English. Yes, we will speak in English. So, we're reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 4. Chapter 5. Yes. Frustration of the sacrifice. I think it is yesterday we were reading until this. Yes, today it's verse 22. And there's no purport, so I'll read the next verse after also. It's 22. 23 and 24. It's 3 verses. Yes. Okay. Warum Purusha Prabhu? Magst du das deutsche Buch hier? Da ist das. Okay. Okay. Und wer wird übersetzen? Kannst du übersetzen, Prabhu? Man muss probieren. Man soll nicht ans Ergebnis eingehaftet sein. Du machst das. Okay. Hier hast du auch ein Buch. Auf Deutsch. Du musst übersetzen. Gut. Are we ready? I think we're ready, yes? Are we ready? Okay, we will read the first verse. So, okay, let's remember one more time. This is Canto 4. It's called The Creation of the Fourth Order. And the chapter is called Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha. And we are reading text 22. Akram yorasi daksasya sita dharena hetina chindan apetat udartung nasaknot triambakastada. How should we do? Should we always do all the words also, or should we just for one verse? Okay, let's do the word yes, let's do the word translations at least, because there's no verse on the blackboard, so you have something to chant also. Akramya, having said, Urasi, on the chest, Dakshasya, of Daksha, Sitadarena, having a sharp blade, Hetina, with a weapon, Chindan, cutting, Api, even though, Tat, that head, Udartum, to separate, Na asaknot, was not able, Triambakaha, Virabhadra, who had 3 eyes, Tada, after this. Translation of verse 22. So, yeah, we are smiling because it's a fight, and there's some excitement, and there's some, and it's we heard yesterday amongst the Kshatriyas fighting, even up to death. It's a kind of sporting, because real Kshatriyas, they understand that they are not the bodies, and that either they win either they kill or are killed. It will be glorious. It will be good. In Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna is saying that that he's telling Arjuna, either you survive and you will enjoy this kingdom on earth, or you die and you will go to heaven. So there is nothing to lament. It's all good. So the Kshatriyas, they have that spirit, and here we hear about fighting, and there's some kind of pleasure also in hearing about those topics. So then Virabhadra, the giant-like personality, he sat on the chest of Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body with sharp weapons, but he was unsuccessful. Next verse. Shastrai astran vitairevam anirbina tvachang haraha vismayang param apano dadyo pasu patistiram Shastrai, with weapons, Astra anvitahi, with hymns, in brackets it said mantras, Evam, thus, Anirbina, not being cut, Tvacham, the skin, Haraha, Virabhadra, Vismayam, bewilderment, Param, greatest, Apanaha, was struck with, Dadyao, thought, Pasupatihi, Virabhadra, Chiram, for a long time. Translation. He tried, so Virabhadra, tried to cut the head of Daksha with hymns as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksha's head. Thus Virabhadra was exceedingly bewildered. And in the word it says he fought for a long time. So he was a little frustrated in his task. He didn't know how to do it. Next verse. Drishtva sangyapanang yogang pashunang sa patirmake yajamana pasukasya kayat tena harat tiraha. Drishtva, having seen, sangyapanam, for the killing of animals, in the sacrifice, yogam, the device, pasupanam, of the animals, saha, he, Virabhadra, patihi, the Lord, make, in the sacrifice. Yajamana Pasuho, who was an animal, in the form of the chief of the sacrifice. So the person who was an animal in the form of the chief of the sacrifice. Okay. Kasya of Daksha. Kayat from the body. Tena by that device. Aharat severed. It means he cut. Shiraha his head. Translation. Then Virabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksha. Purport by His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In this connection, it is to be noted that the device used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designed to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was specifically intended to give a new life to the sacrificed animal by the power of Vedic mantra. The animals were sacrificed to test the strength of the Vedic mantras. Yagyas were performed as a test of the mantra. Even in the modern age, tests are executed on animal bodies in the physiology laboratory. Similarly, whether or not the brahmanas were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly was tested by sacrifice in the arena. On the whole, the animals thus sacrificed were not at all the losers. Some old animals would be sacrificed, but in exchange for their old bodies, they received other new bodies. That was the test of Vedic mantras. Virabhadra, instead of sacrificing animals with the wooden device, immediately beheaded Daksha, to the astonishment of everyone. Om Agyana Timirandasya Ganandala Shalakaya Taksurun Militangena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pratarine Nirvishesa Shunyavadi Pastatyade Satarine Sri Chaitanya Manobhistang Stapitang Yena Bhutale Svayang Rupa Katamayang Dadati Svapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaisnavangsta Shri Rupang Sagradatang Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadutang Parijana Sahitang Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangsa He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vrisabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripre Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasta Kripa Sindubhya Evata Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. One more time. Drishtva Sangya Panang Yogang Pashunam Sa Patir Make Yajamana Paso Kasya Kayat Tena Harat Chiraha. Then Virabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksha. So So here we have the climax of this chapter, and actually there are only 2 more verses without purports. I wonder if I may take the liberty to just read them in the course of speaking. Yes. So I'm very grateful that all the devotees have come to join here today in Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. And so here in this text we are not addressing Vishnu directly, but the battle between Virabhadra, the servant of Lord Shiva, who was specifically invoked to take revenge upon Daksha, who had severely insulted Shiva at first, and had then also caused the wife of Lord Shiva and his own daughter, Sati, to voluntarily give up her body. And Lord Shiva, he became very, very disturbed by this offense of Daksha toward his wife, and he decided that he will chastise him for this. And here we have reached the actual climax of that chastisement. This demon Virabhadra, he captured Daksha. It said he sat down on his chest, and then he tried to cut off his head, and he could not do so. So actually he had quite a difficult task to perform, and this is the nature of. Certainly this is the nature of the material world, that whatever we want to accomplish, especially if it is something big, then it will be difficult. And therefore, also in devotional service it said that Rupa Goswami, he's giving us advice that you have to cultivate free, proper intentions to become successful in devotional activities, which are Utsahan Nishchayat Daryat, which are enthusiasm, faith, and third is patience. So you have to be patient. You have to continue trying. This doesn't work. Okay, try in a different way. It also doesn't work. Try in a different way. and Rupa Goswami is saying, Bhakti, what is that? Shabir Bhakti Prasidyati. If you have those intentions and then you follow devotional principles nicely, then Tatat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat Satovriti. If you then also give up unnecessary association with matter, and if you follow in the footsteps of great devotees, then by performing devotional activities, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna, then Shabir Bhakti Prasidyati, you will attain success in the execution of bhakti. So, and here Virabhadra, he tried to kill Daksha, and he found it very difficult, but he was very determined, and then he tried very strongly, and then still he didn't manage, and then after he noticed that my physical strength is not enough, then he did something very intelligent, because he used his intelligence, and he looked around if there is some other opportunity how to accomplish this task, and then he found this sacrificial machine, and he used that machine to behead Daksha. So he actually killed him. yes, and yes, we will not say too much more about this, but we can say so much that even though Daksha is killed here, we may come across him again if we continue to listen to the narration in the next chapter or chapters. There's 2 more chapters, I think. Yes, there's 2 more chapters. Yes. So after this episode, there are 2 more chapters dealing with this narration, and Daksha will still be around. So that much we can say. And then here Srila Prabhupada is explaining how he's writing, the device used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designed to facilitate eating their flesh. So the ultimate crux in everything that we do is the purpose. Why are we doing a thing? Why are we doing something? And because intention and desire is the nature of the soul. So that is higher than the external manifestation of what the soul is after. And so to kill an animal for the sake of eating the meat, it is such an abominable state of consciousness. It is so much in the mode of the urge, the greed to exploit someone else has become so abominable that you practically want to consume that other personality or that other body. So there are some insects, I heard, that, anyway, it's a different topic, but so eating the flesh of another living being is very, very degraded state of existence. And the misgiving of these days, of course, is that we are sitting here in a Hare Krishna temple and there are cows grazing on the other side of the road, and most probably they will go to the slaughterhouse. So this is very abominable situation. And cows are being killed like this all over the world, and other animals are killed all over the world systematically, in large numbers, so that meat will be eaten, and this is propagated. So this society is very demoniac. We call it demoniac. And Srila Prabhupada, he here makes that point that this machine at that time, in that situation, was not meant for killing animals for eating meat. It was meant for proving that Vedic mantras were working. And somehow it is very wonderful for us to hear that the sound vibration, which was vibrated by qualified brahmanas, was so powerful that the mantras were meant for something else. They were not meant specifically for bringing back as far as I understand, they were not meant to bring the animal back to life, but it was a side effect that the mantra was pronounced and then before or after or at the same time, I personally am not familiar with all the technicalities, but it is understood that this mantra was pronounced and the animal was killed, and the animal came back to life. Like and here it even says it may have been an old animal, and when it comes back to life, suddenly it's a young animal. So, and this was taken as a proof that this mantra was pronounced properly and purely, and it is successful. So it was like a symptom that yes, the sacrifice was successful. So yes, that is the like immediate topic of this verse. And I'm and the broader topic in this verse is yagyas, sacrifices. And it is said that amongst general human beings, these kind of sacrifices were to be performed, especially in Treta Yuga, at the time when, by one incarnation of the Lord, I don't remember the name, but he had red skin, and he had 4 arms, and he had those kind of wooden spoons, which they also use here every Saturday. He had those and other devices for pouring ghee and performing the details of those kind of sacrifice. It is described in 11th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in some verses. It is also described by it is not described but indicated by Garga Muni, who comes to Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan to perform name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram. He is telling that this Krishna, he has come before in a white form, that is Satya Yuga, in red form, that is Treta Yuga, and also in yellow form, and that is taken to be Lord Chaitanya. So we, even in Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, this verse is used to prove that Lord Chaitanya is a form of, or is Krishna himself. So, but there was another form of Krishna in Treta Yuga who introduced this yagya performance for the sake of actual spiritual advancement. But then in this 11th canto, it is explained how yes, there was meditation in Satya Yuga, there was this kind of sacrificing, big sacrifices in Treta Yuga, and there was deity worship as the central spiritual practice in Dvapara Yuga. But we are in the age of Kali, and in the Kali Yuga it says, what is that verse? Krishna Vanang Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana. No. What is that? Yagyai Sankirtana Prayair Yajanti Hisumedasaha. That intelligent people in this age perform Sankirtana Yagya. So that is our sacrifice. That is what we should pursue with great enthusiasm and faith as the central activity in our spiritual practice. And like we can say that at this time they were also pronouncing mantras, so mantras were also there. And nowadays we worship Lord Nrsingadev here very sincerely, with quite some effort, and that is certainly beneficial, but the chanting of Hare Krishna is more essential. A person who lives here, he will be undoubtedly very much blessed by Lord Nrsingadev, but a person who is not staying here, he can still be very much blessed if he chants Hare Krishna. So this is the most important process nowadays for spiritual advancement. And that is glorified in many verses. I recently read in one biography of Srila Prabhupada that 2 years before he came to the West, he was staying at Radha Damodar Temple in Vrindavan, and he was in the course of translating Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Canto 1. And at that time, there was some, I'm not sure about all the details anymore, but anyway, somehow it was a favorable situation, and he decided to celebrate Janmastami there in a public way. Krishna Janmastami, he decided to celebrate at Sri Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan, and he would give a lecture there, and he would invite the, I don't remember how you call it, I think the governor of Uttar Pradesh, which is the state Bundesland in which Vrindavan is situated, along with Delhi and other cities. And he invited that governor of Uttar Pradesh, and I'm not sure, I think, anyway, so those are all details. But Srila Prabhupada would give a lecture there, and it's described that he would give the lecture on a verse from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is saying, Kaler dosha nede rajan asya yeku mahan gunaha kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha parang vrajet. That Kaler yuge nide rajan. This age of Kali is an ocean of faults. In these sacrificial performances which are described here, in these verses, they are so intricate and they are so complicated that nowadays it is practically impossible. How can you create such a pure situation, and what to speak of maintaining it? Probably this kind of noise from some work which is going on over there, probably it had to stop so that the sacrifice could work. I don't know the details, but everything would have to be so nice and proper, and also the timings had to be so correct. And you had to have such brahmanas, by their mantras they could bring back animals to life. So very, very complex, very difficult, and also so much opulence was needed. I'm not in knowledge of details, but they needed so much gold, so much ghee, probably more than we can even imagine. So this ocean of faults, which is Kali Yuga, has one good quality. There's one good quality. And as much as we become aware, so there's one good quality, Kirtanad eva Krishnasya. Simply, if you speak about Krishna, if you chant Hare Krishna, then Mukta Sangha. You get liberation from material contact. You become liberated. You become transcendental. And then Parang Vrajet, then you achieve the supreme. And so that is the verse that Srila Prabhupada spoke about in 1964. And then it is very interesting to consider that he was very vigorously planning and trying already to go to the West, so at that time even, and so it's a very suitable verse for that kind of endeavor which he was pursuing. He was considering that I will go to practically to a hellish environment, leaving Vrindavan, which at that time was still very not very, but it was less infiltrated by the Western culture. It was a very peaceful place, from what I always hear. My spiritual master, he was just little bit, when I was in Vrindavan, he was temple president there for several years, and he was describing how the whole road before Krishna Balaram Mandir, now it's a concrete road. It's and it's so busy. It's like a big main street in a city. And at that time it was simply a sand, I'm not sure, but I think he said it was simply a sand road, and there were neem trees on both sides, big neem trees. So it was very like some kind of park, maybe, for understand. So maybe I'm wrong in the detail, but the general environment was like this, and they would wake up from peacocks who were starting to make noise at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was their alarm. Swarms of peacocks which were running around in Vrindavan. So Srila Prabhupada, he lived in that environment, but he decided to go to the Western world, in the New York, which was one of the metropoles of Kali Yuga. So and he went there to bring us this Kirtanadeva Krishnasya. This is what Srila Prabhupada came to give. This is the essence of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Sri Vyasadeva, he had written down all the Vedic literature, and then he felt that I'm still not satisfied. I feel that I didn't fulfill my purpose yet. So now what? And he was wondering about this. He was not satisfied. He was thinking that it must be good now, but somehow it is not complete. And then Sri Narada Muni appeared, who was his spiritual master, and he told him that, why are you not satisfied? And so he was indicating that, yes, I know why not. And he told him that you have to glorify Krishna. You have to glorify Krishna. And that is how Vyasadeva decided to write Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The Vedas, Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, he's saying, Traigunyo Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. Nidvandva Nitya Sattvastu Niryoga Kshima Atman. Vedas are dealing mainly with the three modes of nature. Demigod worship, achieving material enjoyment in this world or in higher planets, how to counteract sinful activities, how to have a comfort in this material world. That is the main topics in many texts of the Vedas, and Vyasadeva had written down all this knowledge, which encourages people to enjoy in a pious way, but not to pursue the ultimate goal of life, which is not material enjoyment. So Vyasadeva, he was unsatisfied like this. And then Narada Muni advised him to glorify Krishna. And whole Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is topics of Krishna. 9 cantos which describe different avatars of the Lord, different devotees of the Lord, and their prayers, realizations, teachings, the Lord's activities, the devotees' activities, and then the 10th canto, which is actually a huge part of Bhagavatam. Actually, the 10th canto is so much bigger than most other cantos. The 4th canto is also not so small, and this is the first part. So the first part has 17 chapters, and there may be another 17 chapters, I'm not familiar so much, but 10th canto has 90 chapters. 90, which is a lot. So there are many more chapters in the 10th canto than all other cantos of Bhagavatam. And they describe Krishna in Vrindavan, Krishna in Mathura, Krishna in Dvaraka, Krishna Bhagavan Svayam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. So that is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And Srila Prabhupada, he came to the West for this, so that he has some literary foundation and base for speaking about the glories of Krishna. And then he gave Krishna book also, very soon. The 10th canto was summarized as Krishna book, so that it was available to his disciples, to his followers, to the general people. So this glorification of Krishna is so powerful. It is so powerful, and it is very subtle, and therefore if we are not so realized, then the tendency is to neglect this. So that is in our own interest to take up this glorification of Krishna very nicely, And nicely means without offenses. There's offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, which are quite well known, and they should be well known also. But we can also be offensive in reading, if we don't give proper attention, basically, and if we don't understand the topics as they are given. Bhagavad Gita as it is, the topics of Krishna as they are have to be understood in that way. Otherwise, we become sahajas, probably. Sahaja means he tries to love Krishna before he is done with lust. So we have to overcome lust as much as we try to develop love of Krishna. We also have to become free from the contamination of lust. And therefore Bhagavad Gita is so important. Bhakti-Vikas Maharaj, when he was here a few days ago, he made the statement, which stuck with me, is that yes, you read about Krishna, you hear about Krishna, but as you are hearing and reading about Krishna, also read the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, the basic knowledge. And Arjuna is told in the beginning, you are not the body, don't lament. Before I left a few days ago for Linz, I had a short conversation with Brian Prabhu, and we spoke about the chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita. And it's very interesting because in the beginning of that chapter, Krishna is telling, now I will give you knowledge which is superior to everything else. And we were wondering, how is that to be understood? It's not the part about bhakti yoga. Chapter 14 is not about, the whole Bhagavad Gita is about bhakti yoga, but the emphasis in the last 6 chapters, including chapter 14, are the modes, are gyan, are knowledge. And particularly chapter 14, it's called the 3 modes of material nature. So it's Krishna is telling in the 2nd chapter, rise above the 3 modes, and in chapter 14 he's explaining a lot about the 3 modes, and I was thinking about that yesterday because we read this verse in chapter 2, and then I was thinking, yes, but you have to understand the 3 modes so that you can rise above, so that you can distinguish yourself from the 3 modes. That is very needed. And then in this chapter 14 it is explained what are the symptoms of those modes, what is your experience within those modes. So it says in Sattva Guna, one is conditioned by happiness and knowledge. One feels quite joyful and satisfied and liberated. The nature of the mode of goodness is that it liberates us from bad karma, basically. So, and we will experience that. There's some lightness, there's some joyfulness, some satisfaction, and knowledge. In the mode of goodness, one is interested in knowledge. A person in the mode of goodness is interested in knowledge, and he feels that, yes, I'm doing well in this world. I understand things, I use things in a proper way, and I'm quite self-satisfied and happy, and that will be enough. And Prabhupada is explaining the problem is that if you think that you are well situated in this world, then you stay in this world. You will take birth again. And that is no matter how happy and joyful you are in this life, but as soon as you again enter the womb of a material mother, you will suffer very much. And after that, you also have to take your birth, and you have to take all the challenges of material existence again. And who knows how much in the mode of goodness you will be at that time. And then you have to become old again and diseased again, and you have to die again. And if you have not learned your lessons then, you have to take birth again and again and again. So the mode of goodness also is part of the material energy. And as much as we are attracted to this mode, we will also stay in the material energy. but still it is considered the best amongst the three modes. In the mode of passion, it says we become conditioned by so many desires. That is actually not what we become conditioned by, but what we want is the fulfillment of many things which we desire. We want some honor, we want some prestige, and especially man-woman relationships are based, sexual relationships are based on the mode of passion. And then the conditioning is fruitive activity. When a person in the mode of passion, he will work very hard to have a certain material situation. And he's very much interested in what others think about him. He's very much interested in honor. I want to be honored. I want to be appreciated. That is the mode of passion. And he works hard for that sake. And the mode of ignorance is basically the mode of ignorance. Should we go to the mode of ignorance? And the mode of ignorance, basically, it's not doing anything. And there's a few words which I remember from those verses and purports is there's darkness of consciousness. So the consciousness becomes covered very much. And there's because of that there's ignorance, there's illusion, ajnana. And because of that there's bewilderment and craziness, and also being lazy. Laziness, liking to sleep, hesitation, all those things are symptoms of the mode of ignorance. And like that, the Bhagavad Gita is very, we may not like it always, but it's very good for us to see what is our present situation in this world. So Bhagavad Gita, I would say it's the main book to make the connection between the transcendental reality and our present state of material existence. Arjuna also, he took the role of a conditioned soul, so that Krishna will speak this kind of knowledge to him, that this is your situation in the material world, and now rise above, nistraigunyo, pavarjuna. So, and then it says in the 14th chapter that those who transcend the three modes, then that is, what is that? The last part of that verse is Vimukto amritam ashnute. You become liberated and you enjoy nectar, even in this life, it says. And so it's actually it's the same word, isn't it? Kirtanadiva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha. It's almost the same word. It's mukta. It's mukti. So this Krishna conscious speaking and hearing is actually the symptom of how much it works, how we are doing it properly, is that we rise above those modes of nature. We should rise above ignorance, we should rise above passion, we should even rise above goodness at one point, one day. We will rise above the mode of goodness. And the symptom of rising above the material energy completely is, as much as we rise above the material energy, we are very, very fond of hearing more. So we hear to become free from the material contamination, and then it's a kind of medicine. But after you have become healthy by taking the medicine, the medicine turns into a feast. So that is the wonderful nature of Krishna consciousness. You take it for becoming healthy, and then after becoming healthy, you can eat more and more. I was also thinking that the Krishna Katha is like this, that if you start speaking about the verses, it's like taking a meal. But the nature of this kind of meal is that the more you eat, the more you want to eat. So that is the symptom of transcendence, or the transcendental mercy, the transcendental contact, that we don't want to stop hearing, we don't want to stop speaking, never ever. Why? So And our temple, our daily sadhana, our service, our endeavors to be in good association, all these things are meant for that purpose, that we develop this kind of disposition. We don't want to stop hearing, we don't want to stop speaking about Krishna. We always want to remember Krishna. And then those modes, 3 modes of nature, which are elaborately described in Bhagavad Gita, they hinder us. They are hindering us from actually relishing and realizing the substance of spiritual topics. So it is not easy. It is not at all easy to become a liberated devotee of Krishna, and it's a good challenge, but that's no problem, because we have eternity to try again and again and again and again to become transcendental. And so we are coming back to the point of patiently trying to be a devotee. I will read the last 2. Would you like me to read the last 2 verses of this chapter? Then I will finish. Sadhu vadas tadate shang karma tat tasya pasyatam bhuta preta pishachanang anye shang tad viparyayaha. Upon seeing the action of Virabhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully, and all the bhutas, ghosts and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. All the bhutas, ghosts and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the brahmanas in charge of the sacrifice cried out in grief at the death of Daksha. Juha vaitats chirastasmin Daksha nignav amarshitaha tadeva yajanang dagdva pratishtad guyakalayam. Virabhadra then took the head and with great anger threw it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode, Kailas. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 5th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha. Okay, maybe you have something you would like to add, something you would like to ask. Mataji, please tell something. Maybe. Yeah, as you like. Whoever likes to speak may speak.
Okay, I will just speak in English. So she wanted to know why Shiva didn't kill himself, Daksha. I don't know if someone asked this question before or not.
My instant answer is very simple. I don't know. I don't know.
I wasn't on the last lecture, so I didn't get it. Who forgot the name? Who this personality exactly was?
Virabhadra.
Yeah, Virabhadra.
Yes.
Who was it exactly?
He was Lord Shiva. He heard that Sati had killed her own body, and then he became very upset, very angry, and he took some hair from his head and he smashed the hair on the ground, and this huge demon came out from the ground. And then he asked Shiva, what should I do? And Lord Shiva told him, you go there and you kill Daksha and destroy everything. Yes.
This is the episode. What did he get in his head? What did he get? It was cursed, no? Can you explain more about the episode? Why he cursed Lord Shiva and what?
No, not Lord Shiva.
Why Daksha cursed?
Why Daksha cursed Lord Shiva?
Yeah.
He didn't curse him particularly, but he insulted him. Have you read this before?
No.
No.
And can you explain more about the episode of Daksha?
Yes, the fault of Daksha was that he is quite a great personality himself. He's a direct son of Lord Brahma, and so we understand it's amongst such exalted personalities. And there was one assembly in which Brahma was there, Lord Shiva was there, great sages were there, demigods were there, and then Daksha, he entered that assembly. And it says that he was very effulgent, and he attracted the respect of everyone. But two persons did not respond, as far as I let's see. Yes. Here, Daksha was adequately welcomed by the president of the Great Assembly, Lord Brahma. After offering Lord Brahma respect, Daksha, by the order of Brahma, properly took his seat. Before taking his seat, however, Daksha was very much offended to see Lord Shiva sitting and not showing him any respect. So it seems that everyone else stood up in appreciation for Daksha coming. At that time, Daksha became greatly angry, and his eyes glowing, he began to speak very strongly against Lord Shiva. So this was the situation. Daksha, he was offended that Lord Shiva, he didn't get up. And from what we understand, actually, Lord Shiva, on the one hand, materially, he has two relationships with Daksha materially. First one is that actually he is his elder brother. They're both born from Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva was born from Brahma actually before Daksha. But then their other relationship is that Daksha had a daughter, Sati, who was married by Daksha to Lord Shiva unwillingly on the request of Brahma. Brahma told Daksha, his son, you please marry your daughter to Shiva, Lord Shiva. And so Daksha here became the father-in-law of Lord Shiva because of this. So he felt himself superior because of that. And in this situation, it is actually described how Lord Shiva, he was basically was meditating. He was very much absorbed in thought of Krishna. So he basically didn't have external consciousness. We may not so much of it. We could compare it maybe a little bit to Maharaj Parikshit. He came to this hermitage in the forest. He was going for hunting. He was thirsty. He wanted some water, maybe something to eat. And this sage in the forest, he was just meditating. He was in trance. So he didn't even notice the guest. So Lord Shiva, it may be a little bit like this also. He was very much an internal consciousness, and he may have, I don't remember the purports, he may have noticed or not, but he was, he couldn't give so much attention. and Daksha, he felt very offended by this, because he felt that I deserve a lot of attention. So it was his pride which made him speak out against Lord Shiva first. Is that appropriate answer? Yes. Okay. So let us try to glorify Krishna today, at every second, every minute, and rise above the three modes of nature. Thank you for your association. Yes, and I'm just a fool. Please bless me that I can try myself and become a real devotee. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri 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 Prahlad Lakshmi Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai.